Hello, welcome to this video where you'll be taught how to integrate automated Slack messages for your services releases. What you'll be currently seeing at the moment is an example where a git commit triggers a static Next.js rebuild, which will then trigger an automated release message on completion. Since this video builds upon previously made videos, we will be updating the buildspec.yaml file to add a post-build step where we will be adding the Slack webhook call, which we will call via a script file that we create. The on-failure property we are adding is just to ensure that the pipeline continues if there are any failures. Eventually, we would want to be able to distinguish between a successful and a failed build, but that can come at a later date. Add a call to a bash script named send slack notification.sh and call for it within the buildspec.yaml file. The bash file will take two arguments, which is the Slack API hook and the code build number. The Slack API hook is essentially the endpoint that is used to trigger a message within Slack, and the build number in this case is just how we will identify each specific release. If you haven't already, ensure that the file is created and also the permissions are updated so the file is executable. We are now going to update the send slack notification.sh file to call the Slack hook with the build number in a certain format. Since we want to use variables within the string and the curl command requires the JSON data to be in a certain format, I opted for building the command over a couple of variables and just encapsulating it together. If your needs are slightly different, refer to the Slack documentation for formatting with incoming webhooks. The format of the Slack message is determined by the body of the curl request, and furthermore, the curl command we use is what is publishing the message to be sent and received in Slack. As you'll need to create a Slack webhook, go to the Slack apps webpage, create an application, enable incoming webhooks, and generate a webhook. This is what we will need to use in the script. Now that the webhook has been created, we will need to store the webhook somewhere and pass it into the deployment pipeline. Since I am using native AWS, the pipeline is using code build, and the area I'll store the webhook in is Secrets Manager. Your setup may differ, but the services I just mentioned is one of many that can be used. We will now store the webhook into the Secrets Manager with a unique name, and we will call for it later and inject it into the deployment pipeline. We are now going to update the code build infrastructure via CDK to supply the secret we created previously to code build in the form of an environment variable. The script we created earlier references the Slack API hook environment variable, which we're going to name it in CDK. We will also add a check secrets in plain text variable as false to code build properties to tell CDK not to shout about using a secret key as an environment variable. Let's now run the CDK deploy command to get the infrastructure changes we have made to be applied. If you aren't using CDK but are using AWS, you can go directly into the AWS console and update your code build deployment to pass in the Slack webhook as an environment variable directly. With the script created, the deployment plan updated, and all the infrastructure up to date, we should now be able to test the webhook in action by pushing a commit to trigger the redeploy for the static Next.js application. As you can see, the message has been sent informing the channel of the release and the build version. I hope you can see the benefit and integrate this into your services or applications, and hopefully you found this interesting and you learned or benefited from spending your time watching this video. If that is the case, it's appreciated to have a like and subscribe, and if you have any suggestions or feedback, feel free to place a comment. Thank you.